There I am. Okay, good. 7:22 here, Big 550 KTRS. Let's check movies. Normally it's Fridays, but today we get a special treat a day earlier. Good morning, Mr. David Blaustein.
McGraw. Hello, McGraw.
We're fine. How are you doing? 3.5 games up on the Washington Nationals.
Unbelievable! Unbelievable! This is it's incredible. I mean, and not only are we 3.5 games up, and not that I'm that much of a hater, but the fact that living in New York and the Yankees are now in the middle of a precipitous fall. It's insane.
It's a beautiful.
Crazy.
Up is down and down is up. What is going on? It really
is. It's like a parallel universe.
We are staring a Mets-Cardinals playoff series right in the face. That's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch.
You know what? And if you told me that was going to happen 3 weeks ago, I mean, I might have believed you, but I wouldn't have given the Mets a chance. But look, I mean, you guys know what great pitching will do for you. That's going to be an amazing matchup should that happen.
That will be an amazing matchup. All right. I've been dying to get your opinion on a movie that I am going to dress up as my favorite character and go to the midnight showing of this movie because I really want to see this. Please tell me it's good. What are you saying about Straight Outta Compton?
So are you going to dress up? Who are you going to dress up? Eazy-E?
No, Ice-T.
Ice-T?
Yeah, or no, I'm sorry, Ice Cube.
Ice Cube?
Ice Cube, I think is what you mean.
Ice Cube is what I meant. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I see you. You probably look really good in a Jerry curl.
I do. Actually, I can bring it when I want to.
I didn't realize you were a fan.
I don't know why. I'm not. It's just sort of my era, I guess. I'm just sort of interested in how they tell the story.
You see, when I first heard about this movie, I thought it was about a former ABC Radio White House correspondent. Straight out of Am Compton.
Well, I loved Boys in the Hood. I thought that was a great movie. So I'm kind of hoping this is sort of in that same vein.
Well, I'll tell you, a movie like this, because this isn't a straight-up biopic, if you will, because you're talking about several people. You're talking about a group. It's not like like 8 Mile, which was a biopic of just Eminem,
right,
actually starring Eminem. This is interesting because it's really a biopic of a group, but that focuses on really 3 people, and that would be Eazy-E, who sort of, I guess, was more or less kind of the face of the band when they broke. And then Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, who have obviously gone on to do some amazing things, not just in music, but in the movies. And where in 8 Mile you had Eminem playing himself, here you have Ice Cube's son playing him, which is kind of amazing because he looks so much like Ice Cube, except he's not as hard as Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, when you hang out in a room with Ice Cube, he's a perfectly nice guy, and he's almost genteel in a sense, but he still has a lot of very large men hanging out with him, and at any second, if he wanted to, he could still bring it. You sense that he's a hard guy, and he's seen some things where his son, you don't quite get that intimidation factor from his son, but he still looks so much like him and did a great job playing him. So it's a challenge to make a movie like this, and they executed it beautifully. I think that this will probably go down as one of the, I don't want to call it a great movie because I don't think it's quite great. I think it's terrific, but it does have elements of being maybe a hip-hop classic for sure. I mean, I think it's written in a very, very accessible way. I think they were a little soft on some of these guys. I do. I think Dr. Dre comes off like a heroic angel in this movie, and Dr. Dre was not that in real life. I mean, he has since improved, but I mean, he definitely did some shady things, and that's not covered in the movie. But that's okay. He's one of the producers of the movie, and so is Ice Cube. But the beautiful thing about this film is it's very emotional. It really is. You really, they do a great job of executing the highs and the lows of their career and explaining why they are the way they are and what kind of impact they had on society. But the thing is, it really, really sucks you in. It's one of those movies, we talk about this all the time, usually when a movie is longer than 1 hour and 40 minutes, it could seem like it's very long or even too long, in fact, and the filmmakers don't know how to edit a movie. This movie's about 2.5 hours long, and it's one of those films. It could have kept going.
Wow.
I mean, it was just that good. Like, I kind of didn't want it to stop, and that is a sign of a really well-written film, and this is a well-written film. So this is a very solid 4 out of 5 stars.
Good. Excellent. Glad to hear it. All right, good. All right, well, the other movie coming up this weekend, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I guess you can't get two different types of movies.
Well, that's very true. This is an adaptation of the popular 1960s TV show, which I never really watched. I've just seen clips of, and I think besides the fact that it takes place in the 60s and the characters' names are the same, it's very different from the TV show. This gets the Guy Ritchie treatment. It's hyper stylized, and I think that's the problem with this movie, is that Guy Ritchie and his co-writer, because he co-wrote this movie, really were more focused on the stylistic aspect and how great they could make the 1960s look, 1963. It takes place in 1963 when we were literally on the verge of a nuclear war, and tensions were at their highest between the United States and Russia. And here we are, these two agents played by Armie Hammer and Henry Cavill have to work together. And, I think the characters are fleshed out pretty well, and I think their chemistry is good, except there's not enough interaction between the two of them. They don't really take advantage of what they had there, and instead they're focused on making the movie look beautiful, and it does. Like, every actor and actress who's in this is great looking. All the sets are terrific. The scenery is breathtaking, but the story's only really, really mediocre, and it just should have been better and more satisfying. Instead, it's just moderately entertaining. So 3 out of 5 stars.
We're out of time, but I saw you talking about that Chris Farley documentary put on, or I guess made by his brother.
Yeah.
I Am Chris Farley. I watched it the other night. It's fantastic.
It really is. And for me, one of the most interesting aspects, not just of the documentary, but talking to Kevin, is right now, Kevin looks exactly like Chris and sounds exactly like Chris. I mean, it's crazy. And you say that to him, and he'll tell you, he's like, yeah. He's like, I have a problem with food as well. And he said the fatter I get, the more I look like him. When I lose weight, I don't look as much like him. But yes, he said right now I'm pretty fat.
But it's a documentary in which he goes and talks to Chris Farley's best friends in the business, all comedians, and they sort of tell the story of his rise and fall. But what's interesting is that all of his friends and all of his comedians, they don't tell one joke, and yet it's riveting and really funny.
Yeah, and it's the way it should be. I think, the only criticism that I would have of that movie is it doesn't really go far enough. But that's what, in other words, it doesn't really focus enough on his downfall, which
right.
I think is important. But that's not the movie Kevin wanted to make.
Yeah.
He wanted to make, he thinks that there's enough out there, enough with this salacious angle, and he doesn't think obviously he's his brother, he doesn't think it's right that so many people focus more on that. He wanted to make a movie that focused more on his talent and his influence, and his talent and his influence was tremendous. And to think, he was only 33 years old when he died, and he already accomplished so much, and it's just one of those sad stories where what else would have he accomplished? Yeah,
well, it's on Spike TV now. That's where I saw it. It's called I Am Chris Farley, and it's a must. David Blaustein. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I know you, McGraw.
David, have a good week. We'll talk to you next Friday. Thanks. 7:30 here, Big 550 KTRS. POAIN. Bowen.